Hey guys, it's Alexis, aka The Soft Reader, and I'm here today to do another Top 5 Wednesday video. Top 5 Wednesday is of course hosted by Thoughts on Tome, so I will leave her channel as well as the Goodreads group where I post all the topics and links and such down below. This week's topic is our favorite LGBTQIA plus reads. Of course, that is a topic I try to read a lot about. I try to read pretty much every LGBTQIA plus book I can, or at least buy them with the intention of reading them eventually. So with this one, I kind of tried to pick books that I felt like last a very hard lasting impression on me, or just ones that like from right out the bat I completely fell head over heels in love with. Two of these are not own voices, three of them are, but unfortunately the two that aren't own voices, they're still phenomenal books, and they're still books that even though I've read them a while ago, they still like just give me all of the emotions and the feelings. And for this, I tried to pick books that kind of really focus on the LGBT aspect. So books that I felt like present a good discussion about that, rather than just books that kind of have LGBT characters, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and get into it. The first one I'm going to mention is the only one I read this year, and that is Dreadnought by April Daniels. You guys are probably so sick of hearing me talk about this book, but, you know, I loved it. I fell in love with it right from the get-go. This is basically about a trans superhero named Danny, who was in the body of a boy, and then, but she always knew she was trans, and then a superhero named Dreadnought dies before her and basically gives her his powers, and in doing so, Danny basically wakes up from being unconscious for like a couple of minutes in the body, the dream body she's always wanted, in the body of a woman. So basically now her physical body matches, you know, her gender identity. And I loved this, and so it's simultaneously a story about Danny being trans, Danny dealing with all of the aspects that come with that. You know, she faces a lot of discrimination from people very close to her. She does a lot of hate speech. There's a TERF in this story who basically tells her that she's, I'm not going to get into it, but so she deals with all of that. She deals with, you know, being who she is, while facing a lot of negative, you know, reactions from the people around her. So she's simultaneously dealing with that while also dealing with now having superpowers. And so she's, you know, trying to figure out the extent of her abilities, but she's also trying to be the best superhero she can be. And so it's simultaneously both of those stories, but they never conflict with each other. I never felt like the superhero story was taking center stage and taking away from the trans narrative. Likewise, I never felt like the trans narrative was, you know, overshadowing the superhero story. And I like that. I think we need more LGBTQIA plus stories that are like that, that can still have a very prevalent LGBTQIA plus storyline, but that it works so seamlessly with the fantastical elements. And so loved that. It was awesome. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The sequel comes out in May or June, I don't remember, but I am pumped. The next one I'm going to mention is actually one of the books one of the books that I picked up because of hype when I first got into the book community online, and that was I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. Of course, this follows two stories, Jude and Noah. Basically, Noah tells the story of them when they were, I want to say 13, and then Jude tells the story when they're 16, and it goes back and forth between both of their narratives, and about how kind of these events have happened between them that have put them into their present where they are in Jude's storyline. Now, the Noah, the brother, is gay, and he, I mean, that's not a spoiler, it's literally in the first chapter, but it's kind of, his storyline is a lot about him falling in love for the first time, but it's really beautiful. I mean, Jude's parts are really beautiful too, but Noah's is just like so sweet because he's so young and he's, you know, innocent and naive, and it's about him really opening up his heart for the first time in that way. And it's beautiful. This is still one of my favorite books. I'm waiting for the day that this becomes a movie because I think it'll make a fantastic movie. But I've read reviews from young gay men who have said that they've seen so much of themselves in Noah that they read Noah's story and they were like, I can totally relate to that. But yes, so I love this book. And I honestly, like, even though it's not Own Voices, I can't make an LGBTQIA plus recommendation without recommending this book because I love it so much. The next book I'm going to mention is one of my other favorite books from 2015, and that was Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Again, this isn't Own Voices, but honestly, I can't recommend an LGBTQIA plus book recommendation list and not include Simon. I love this book. I love everything about this book. This book is nerdy without being pretentious. It's cute. It deals with some pretty heavy topics in certain areas, but it kind of really does them in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming or pessimistic. The characters are just so much fun to read about. Simon is such a fantastic main character. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda is basically about our young main character named Simon, who is he's still in the closet, and so, you know, no one knows he's gay, but he's been having this, like, email online relationship with a guy named Blue, and they kind of agreed that they would keep their identities a secret and just keep it online, but obviously Simon is falling head over heels in love with Blue the more he gets to know about Blue. And it's basically about one day he leaves his email up, and this fellow student, Martin, reads it and basically blackmails Simon into helping Martin hook up with Simon's friend Abby. But it's about that, but it's just about a lot of stuff. But, you know, Simon is pretty nerdy in the fact that he loves Harry Potter. He's big into musical theater. You know, he's friends with these guys who are in a band. And just, yeah, so, like, just all of the aspects of Simon come together to make just such a cute story. The next book I'm going to mention is one of my favorite books of last year, and it is Own Voices, and that is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Rousseau. This follows our, so Meredith Rousseau is a trans woman, and the cover model is also a trans woman, and then our main character, Amanda, is 16, and she's also a trans woman. And so basically, it's about Amanda moving to a new school after this event has happened to her at her old school. So she moves to a new school, and it's about, and it's basically about no one knowing who she is, and so she's kind of like loving that anonymity of not being known, you know, as like the trans girl. And so she's kind of liking that while she's also falling in love with this fellow classmate of hers. And so there's so many little things about this book I love. I love the relationship between Amanda and her father. I love how it's handled. I love how it's presented. I love how it develops. I think Amanda's relationship with Grant is very cute. It was very heartwarming to read about, and I like that Grant, you know, treats her really well. And so I like that Amanda is religious, and so she talks a lot about being in faith while also, you know, while also still being part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And then I like that this takes place in the South, but it didn't feel fake. It felt like the author either is from the South or has spent time in the South, or either has friends who are from the South, because I like that a lot of it felt very Southern to me. I'm obviously from the American South, so I liked that felt genuine to me. I didn't feel like it was, you know, just one big Southern stereotype. And I really loved Amanda as the main character. I rooted for Amanda very heavily. I wanted her to succeed in everything, and every time that she hurt, I felt my heart tightening, and I loved this book so much. It's why it was one of my favorite books of last year, and honestly, anytime somebody brings up this book, it's like I'm flooded back with emotions of how much I loved this book. The next book I'm going to mention is one, earlier I said Dreadnought was the only book I had read this year, but that's not true because I also read this one, but this book feels like I read it so long ago because, like, I'm already itching for a reread, and, like, that never happens to me. It takes me, like, 5 years before I can reread a book, But I'm gonna go with Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. There are two prominent LGBTQIA plus characters. Our main character, Nancy, is asexual, and then there's a character named Cade who is trans. And I said I kind of wanted to pick books that mostly really focused heavily on the LGBTQIA plus topic, but this still does have a fantastical element to it. This book is basically about kids who come back from fantasy worlds, who like go away to these fantasy worlds and then come back, and they feel like they don't have a home anymore, and so they get sent to this like home for other kids like them, and then there's like a murder mystery going on. But the reason I like this book is because Nancy, our main character, has some very distinct discussions where she kind of talks to the reader about being asexual. She talks about how, you know, she's not aromantic, she still, you know, develops romantic feelings for people, but that she just doesn't want it to be anything more than kissing. She says that she's okay with kissing, but that she doesn't want it to be more than that. But I liked that there was that very distinct discussion about asexuality in this book, because asexuals are hardly ever presented in media. They're basically non-existent. And so for Seanan McGuire to be on the ace spectrum and to write an asexual main character in a all-around really good YA novel, I just felt like it was so impactful, and so much of the stuff that she has to say I feel like is going to be maybe even new information for a lot of people reading it. And so I liked that. I liked the very obvious discussion about her asexuality, but I also like how casual gender and sexuality are in this book. You know, like, I don't think it's never said, like, the words that Cade is trans are never spoken, but it's very obvious, but it's not this, like, overwhelming characteristic of him. It's not like his only characteristic is being trans. And I liked that. I liked how casual it was. It was just like, yeah, Cade's trans, cool, so this murder happening. And I really liked that. I liked that it didn't take a backseat, but it also wasn't like this, look, here we have all of this representation everywhere. And I really, really liked that. Was one of the things that I read this book. Actually, I listened to it on audio, but I was just like, yes, yes, casual sexuality I love. I'm all here for it. Alright guys, so that was this week's Top 5 Wednesday. You guys should let me know down below what are some of your favorite LGBTQIA+ reads. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye!